Star wakes up later in the day, as she isn't fully used to waking up this early due to becoming more nocturnal. She stretches and pets Cassiopeia, feeding him, Ursa, and Capricorn. After everyone eats, she tells Cassiopeia to follow her. "Come on, Cass! We're going to Golden's, then to Emunah's house. I want to work on fauna magic and finally make a system of barks that Emunah can understand." Once they arrive at Golden's house, Cassiopeia sits next to Star as she knocks on the door. Golden was down below in his house, writing some information into a small leather-bound book. He plans on giving this to Star next time he sees her, as it contains some information she might want to know. But his plans are cut short when he hears the knock on his door. He puts the book in his pocket and heads up, knowing immediately that it's Star. No one else would come to his house, but he was confused then. It's the middle of the day, meaning Star can only speak to him. He arrives and opens the door for his little sister. "Oh, hey, Star. What are you doing out? It's the middle of the day. You can't speak normally." Star smiles, and her tail starts wagging quickly. "Hi, Golden. I know it's day. I actually want you to accompany me as a translator to Emunah's house. She said she would work with me to develop a code so she and others can understand me better. I also have a book, just in case you don't want to." "Yeah, sure. Just keep in mind, Emunah doesn't like me very much. You know, because of that whole I broke into her house thing." Star nods. "Don't worry. I did too recently late at night, 'cause I wanted to practice being stealthy. Let's go, Cass! To Emunah!" Once they arrive, Star knocks on Emunah's door, while Cassiopeia sits between her and Golden. "Should I ask why you were trying to break into Emunah's house in the middle of the night?" Star tilts her head. "I mean, I made it in. It was something else that got me in trouble with her, not to mention that she was woken up in the middle of the night." "Fair enough. Just keep in mind that not everyone here spent 4 years with you and will excuse you for waking them up in the middle of the night." He's right. I like you, Star, but I'd rather not have someone skulking around my territory. Emunah chimes in as she hops down from the roof where she'd been trying to soak up some of the late winter sunlight. The shepherd makes sure to flip her hood over her features as she turned to face the pair. "What can I help you two with?" Her voice takes on a curious tone, blue eyes shooting a cautious glance toward Golden, as if asking for an interpretation. Star waves to Emunah. "I want to follow through with what you told me before, coming up with a code so you and others can understand me," she barks, looking to Golden to translate. She makes a thoughtful humming sound, head tilting. "Sure, I can try and help out with this. Did you have any ideas in mind exactly?" she replies as she beckons them to join her back up on the mossy roof. Star climbs up and sits next to her. "Well, I guess I could write down common things I say and try and make certain patterns for them. Like 1 bark is hi and 2 is goodbye. Something like that, maybe." Emunah tilts her head back up toward the wintry sky and murmurs, "That sounds plausible. What about for longer sentences?" She watches the clouds block the sun for a moment before turning to stare in their direction again. She studies Golden for a minute, idly wondering how he could understand Star before her attention shifts toward the lichen. Her eyes flick to the crown, noticing the blossoms tangling in Star's hair. "Any luck with that, by the way?" Emunah gestures toward the headpiece with a claw. Star shrugs but smiles. "Oh yeah, I worked on it a few nights ago and I was able to grow this huge lilac bush. And after I grew it, these flowers bloomed in place of some ice crystals. I think I'm working my way through her magic. I took a break to recharge, though once I grew a rose bush that had ice on it." Star shook her head slightly. "I do not want to take any chances of reversing my progress or making this worse, so I stopped there. I was thinking you might be able to help with that, after, actually, since you have been teaching me fauna magic. Star beams at Emunah and glances over at Golden, tail still wagging due to his presence. Emunah peers closer at the crown and hesitantly reaches out to brush her own magic against it. Behind the ice, she can sense fauna magic spreading underneath the primary layer, like flowers sprouting just after the last frost of winter. She blinks in surprise and withdraws her hand, shaking off the chill, and nods her head to acknowledge Golden's translation. It seems as if your magic is already working on pushing through the ice blanketing the crown, Emunah begins to explain, a calculating gleam entering her gaze. You'll need to harness stronger fauna magic, though, if you want to fully dislodge the queen's grip. She drums her claws on her leg, eyes narrowing. I figured, Star nodded. But first, let's focus on getting a code for this barking set up. Where do we start? Golden noticed Star looking over at him, not asking him to translate, but for an idea. Don't look at me. I can't hear the barks. I just hear you speaking like you always do. But my best guess is you should try and say the same thing a few times in a row, so Emunah can pick up a pattern. Star looks down and thinks for a moment before coming up with something to say. She looks at Emunah, pointing her ears toward her, and drags out a yelpish howl multiple times. Her tail wags slowly, and her eyes constrict slightly to try and mimic Emunah's own. Emunah! 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 Emunah blinks and flinches back slightly in surprise at the sound before relaxing and trying to puzzle out what it meant. A low, curious chirr leaves her lips and her quills twitch, noticing Star trying to mimic her own posture. Is that sound something related to me? She guesses and glances toward Golden with an uncertain glimmer in her eyes. The Harbinger sighs softly and scoots a bit closer toward the werewolf, eyeing the crown again. Star, I feel like we need to focus on getting this crown off your head more than we do a code. Her tone is soft, serious. The ice magic feels weaker, so whatever you've done has helped, but you'll need something stronger to fully break this. Emunah suddenly turns, stands, and beckons for Golden to follow her away from the house on the grassy lawn just beyond the path, wanting to have a private word. Golden sees Emunah move a little further away and beckon to him. He looks at Star. Stay here for a moment. He walks over to Emunah, wondering what she could want. As they depart, Star busies herself with lying down and watching the clouds. Emunah adjusts her cloak, casting a quick glance toward the werewolf to make sure she wasn't eavesdropping, and then says in a quiet voice, Golden, I think Star is going to need to learn how to shift into her wolf form and back to be able to get that cursed crown off. She scuffs the ground with a paw and sighs softly. Star's proficient in life magic, but she has no mastery of it. Too much magic and she'll wear herself out, but too little and that crown isn't going anywhere. And there is only so much I can teach before we hit another wall, is left unspoken. I may have a plan on how to potentially push Star into gaining more control of her fauna magic, but to do that, she will have to shift. Emunah's gaze flicks between Golden and Star. Would you be willing to play along and participate? I thought that's what we might have to do, Golden said, shifting his belt. Only problem is, I think the Snow Queen believes she'll be easier to control as a wolf, so we might be playing right into her hands. What's your plan? The Harbinger grimaces. She knew this was going to be a big risk, but she could not see any other choice. Emunah could teach her more, but Star was only wearing herself out despite the progress being made. No. It might be time to start pushing a bit harder. My plan is to try and push Star enough to trigger her into shifting. I'm going to attack you. She mimed the quotations around the word, and challenged Star to use her magic to defend you. That crown feeds off magic. If Star shifts, she'll be much more in tune with her core type than she is currently, Emunah explains, silently praying that she wasn't making a mistake. Hopefully the result will be the ice magic becoming overpowered or at least severely weakened. She casts a guilty glance toward the lichen before her gaze becomes steely as she meets Golden's eyes again. I'm counting on you to calm her down once this is all over. Do you think this can work? Golden thought about it for a second. This could work, and it might help Star get the crown off. But then he thought, yes, that was what he had to do. I think that could work, but don't attack me. It has to be real to give this the best chance of working. Plus, given how you don't like me, this'll be pretty therapeutic. As he says that, he reaches into his back pocket and grabs a totem. He holds it in his hand ready, just in case Emunah goes too far. The Harbinger snorts in amusement and shoots him a bitter little grin. Might want to say something to piss me off if you really want to go all out. I apologize in advance, she mutters, taking a deep breath to calm the sudden nerves that overcame her. If this went well, Star would hopefully be free from the crown. If this went wrong, well, the Ice Hag would probably be beyond pleased. As they talk, a monarch butterfly lands on Star's nose, and she smiles and stares at it as it moves its wings a bit before flying off. I don't think I need to say anything, Golden says, removing his helmet to expose his face. Just look at me in the eyes, and that should be enough. Emunah huffs and rolls her eyes. I don't dislike you because of your looks. The chicken thing is an inside joke between my partner and I. The Harbinger shifts her stance slightly, muscles coiling in preparation. Gonna have to do better than that, Golden. I don't attack for funsies. Either make me angry or trigger my instincts. She flexes her talons in emphasis. That I can do. Sorry about this. I'll find another one for you. Quickly, Golden whipped out his crossbow in his other hand and fired a bolt at one of Emunah's frogs outside, skewering it through the heart and killing it. He made sure it was one Star couldn't see, so she wouldn't know he did it. The Harbinger stiffens, glancing over his shoulder to see one of her little orange frogs impaled by a crossbow bolt. Her pupils narrowed into thin slits, magic sparking along her claws. She hadn't brought many of her pets, but she couldn't leave Tulip behind when she'd moved, and now, with a dark snarl, Emunah whips around and lunges for Golden, lashing out with her talons. Star sits up in fear, looking over at the commotion between Emunah and Golden, only to see Emunah attack Golden. She gets up with Cassiopeia and rushes over to stop Emunah from hurting Golden. Cass, go for the cloak! Pull her back! She barks out. She launches for Emunah's arms and wraps her arms under them to pull her away from Golden. Cassiopeia tries to help as well by grabbing at Emunah's pant leg and pulling her as well. Star gets a few steps back as she looks over at Golden in a plea for him to translate. Emunah, stop! I know you don't like Golden, but why are you attacking him? You were fine until now. Did he say something wrong? Please, don't hurt my brother! She growls and whines out. She struggles to hold Emunah, but does get a few steps back as she's holding her. Golden felt Emunah's claws rake across his chest as he stumbles back, dropping the crossbow but holding on to the totem. Pain flared up, and blood flew as the claws slashed through his armor. Star, let her go. I can handle this myself. As he said that, he shifted his armor around to expose a little of his chest, a perfect target for Emunah's claws. That's the best you can do, Emunah? That's the strength that will bring Ryan back to you after so long? But Golden decided to take it another step further. Flames began to spill from his mouth as he exhales. Golden, use Daimonji! The fire formed into a 5-pointed star, which rushed towards Emunah. Seeing the fire rushing toward them, Star dropped Emunah and rushed to the side, beckoning Cassiopeia to follow her. They were both unharmed, luckily. Golden! That nearly hit me! Why did you think that was a good idea? Star yelped out at him, looking scared and pleading with him for a good explanation. A thought slips into her mind. Why are they trying to hurt me? Tears filled Golden's eyes as Emunah and Star leapt out of the way. Is this really the only way? He just fired flames at his sister. What is he doing? No, I can't do this. Star, I'm sorry. He fell to his knees. He can't do this. He can't risk hurting her anymore. He unstrapped his chest plate and it fell to the ground. Emunah, if you want to kill me, I'm right here. But I won't risk hurting my family anymore. Still clutching the totem, he looked up into the eyes of the soul shepherd, thinking, come on, do it. Go that extra mile. That will be enough. Star vehemently shakes her head and yelps out, Golden, no! Don't do this, please! You don't have to let her kill you! Star looks over to Emunah and tries to beg her to not kill her brother. Emunah, don't! You hated it when you thought I was threatening your sister! I don't want my family hurt any more than you do! Emunah's lips curl back to completely bare her fangs when Golden said Ryan's name. He wanted a challenge? By the gods, she would give him one. Fortunately or unfortunately, she did not get the chance as the odd avian unleashed a fire attack, and she felt Star just barely yank her out of the way. She could feel the power and heat of it brush by her, singeing her arm, but not a direct blow. Her heart was beating too fast. She was shaking, flickers of memories flashing through her mind's eye. A burning cell, blades cutting through her skin, the scent of coppery blood mingling with her screams. Why are they trying to hurt you? The thought comes and goes. Emunah is broken from her chaotic thoughts by Golden's pained voice as he calls out to her and bares his chest, Star's frantic whines and barks ringing in her ears. She casts a quick glance toward the lichen before stalking toward Golden, eyes locking with his. Within the blink of an eye, she lashes out with her claws again, but stops just short of touching the soft feathery fur of her foe's chest. Oh, it'd be so easy to just rake her talons through his flesh, and a dark part of her urges her to give in and do so, to kill him before he becomes a worse threat. But she just stands there, looking into the not-avian's eyes, seeing his tears and his position looking so similar to a gesture of submission and surrender to her instincts. With a wordless growl, the Harbinger turns her claws away, and instead scratches at herself for a moment, the pain grounding her further in the present. I'm not going to kill you, Emunah mutters as she glances back up to meet his gaze, her expression a pained grimace. This was stupid and foolish idea. I'm an idiot, she began to voice quietly, but loud enough so that Star would be able to hear her as well. I take full responsibility. The shepherd shivers as the wind whispers past, her adrenaline and fury fading into exhaustion and guilt. I am such a fool, but maybe I can use this to teach them to not be fools like me. Let this be a lesson to both of you. Emunah raises her voice, eyes not leaving Golden's. Golden, I want you to learn from this encounter. You almost hurt your kin. I know you want to help her, will do just about anything to make sure she's safe, but... She leans close, blue eyes piercing him and a fierce expression upon her face. She'd not realized her features were exposed, but unable to care. You need to learn now that you cannot charge in recklessly, to heed others' words of advice, to listen and be aware of who and what is around you. Emunah backs away a few steps, giving him space. You cannot always play at being the hero. She then turns to Star, remorse flashing in her eyes as she addresses the lichen. I'm very sorry for all of this, Star. She tilts her head to bare her scarred throat in further apology. I want you to learn from this too, if possible. You did good trying to stop me. However, regardless of how foolish this plan was, you still need to learn how to shift. Do not be ashamed of or afraid of who and what you are. You are a werewolf, Start embracing it because it's not going to change. Emunah's tone is blunt, calm, and cold. She can feel her hands trembling. Gods, she feels so cold. Alone. Emunah forces that down and turns to just stare at the two before heaving a deep sigh and gesturing Star over toward Golden. I'm going to teach you how to heal him. Will you be able to trust me long enough to do that? She waits patiently for Star's reply, burying everything behind a wall of forced calm until she can process this all later. Golden panted, staying on his knees. He doesn't know why Emunah stopped. This was the plan, right? For her to attack and nearly kill him to get Star to shift into her other form? But it doesn't matter anymore. He listens to Emunah, and he knows she is right about all but one thing. He is not a hero. He has the blood of hundreds on his hands, the blood of his fellow Pokemon. He will never forgive himself for what he did, even if he was forced to do it. But if he can help his sister live a better life than he ever could, he could find some peace. He beckons to her. It's all right, Star. Come here. I'm okay. Everything is going to be fine. Star panted and looked between them. After a moment, she smiled, happy that they were not fighting anymore. Once Emunah addressed her, her smile dropped, her tail wrapped around her slightly. Emunah was right. She always is, it seems. She nodded to Emunah's request to heal Golden and approached him. The shepherd crept closer but did not touch either of them. Golden's blood is stained and dried on her claws, and she doesn't know if Star is in the mood to rip her to shreds or not. She can see the injuries she dealt. Several long, sluggishly bleeding furrows marred the not avian's chest. If Golden had not been quicker, she would have caused a lot more damage. Emunah ignores it and instead takes a deep breath before beginning the lesson. So, you've been growing plants, right? I want you to focus on growing some lilacs or roses, whatever you have the power to conjure. Emunah starts to explain, demonstrated by causing a cornflower to bloom by her feet. Once you've done that, study his wounds for a moment. I'll show you how to heal him afterward. Star nods and places one hand on the ground and focusing on growing a rose bush. It grows taller and taller until it reaches 2 meters in height and blooms beautifully. Emunah gives the werewolf an encouraging nod. Try and create a couple more. You are going to need more energy to draw from to be able to heal his wounds. Golden tried to stand up but grunted in pain, falling back to the ground. I'm fine. I think I got a spare health potion handy. As he moves his hand, he dropped the totem, which fell into the clear view on the ground. Star smiles and works on growing a few more roses around her, and she grows a white tulip in front of Emunah and a red tulip in front of Golden. Star smiles and looks down at the flowers and back up at both of them. The tulips are for both of you. White for Emunah and red for Golden. She yips out. Thanks, Golden says, still wincing in pain every few seconds. There must have been some other magical component to Emunah's attack. She said the white one's for you, Emunah. The shepherd flinches and shoots Star a startled glance, feeling the shaking in her hands growing worse. She just dips her head in thanks, studying the tulips for a second before directing her attention back to instructing Star. Now, Star, reach out with your magic and draw energy and strength from the flowers and direct it through your crown. Allow it to amplify your magic, and then direct that energy toward Golden's wounds. Emunah's voice was quiet as she kept her head lowered, quills slicked back. Star follows Emunah's advice and reaches out toward Golden. They focus on the flora around them and try their best to draw strength from them and direct it through their crown. They breathe slowly, keeping calm. The healing energy washes over him, and Golden feels the cuts in his chest start to close. As they do, the pain fades away, slowly at first, but it disappears altogether soon. It takes about a minute, but eventually the wounds close completely. Golden stands up and grabs his chest plate. As Golden stands, Star drops her hands and opens her eyes, smiling at her brother being okay. Her tail is wagging a mile a minute. She looks over to Emunah with a big smile on her face. The Harbinger avoids eye contact, keeping her eyes on the flowers the lichen had grew. The trembling in her hands had grown worse, tremors beginning to rack her body despite the detachment she feels from everything around her. Blood. Burning wings and manic orange eyes stared down at her with such disdain. An icy spectral hand that forced her to heed the words shouted into her mind. Emunah blinks and sucks in a shuddering breath, forcing her mind back to the present. Good. Well done, Star. Test the crown. See if it's any weaker. She murmurs. Her eyes flick up to Golden as he stands, body tensing to fight or flee despite how tired she suddenly feels. An instinctive reaction to all the stress that had just occurred. She wasn't sure how to feel. Even the pain of her minor injuries felt dull. Star reaches up, only to feel some plant-like vines stray away from her reach. She pulls at the crown, but it still did not budge. Kind of. A few ice vines, I think, have changed into regular plant vines, but I still can't get it off yet. She barks out as she approaches Emunah carefully. Are you okay, by the way? You're shaking. Emunah whines and reaches out to gently hug Emunah, but doesn't do so for fear of scaring her. Emunah flinches away and quickly flips her hood back up to hide her face. She can tell by Star's body language that she doesn't mean any harm, but her instincts are too strong and every little movement makes her tense in preparation to flee. You should keep practicing your magic. Start working on building up your stamina to use larger spells. Emunah gestures toward the crown, silently relieved to see some progress out of this disaster. I'm so sorry about all of this. You should go speak with Golden. Actually talk with one another about all of this. Her eyes briefly meet Star's, pained, somewhat unfocused. Star's ears pin back, and a sad expression crosses her features. Okay. I hope you feel better, Emunah, she whines. She stands up next to Golden, and with Cassiopeia whining comfortingly at her heels. Come on, Star. I'll take you home. Star nods and starts to walk away, looking back at a terrified Emunah. What was all that about? Why did Emunah attack you? Star whines. She had an idea you might be able to harness more fauna magic if you were able to shift into your wolf state, and she figured the best way to do that was to attack me. Obviously, I gave her permission first, and I even had a totem just in case she managed to kill me, but it didn't go that far. They reach his house and Golden sits down outside, inviting his sister to sit with him. I'm so sorry I put you through that. Star sits next to him. It's all right, but I don't think it would have gone over well for anyone if that would have worked. At least everyone's okay, for the most part. I hope Emunah will be okay. I'm worried about her. She looked so scared. She reminded me of myself when I was being chased out of my home by the guards, she whines. Maybe it's because she would have killed me. I saw the look in her eyes. She was ready to rip out my heart until she looked into mine. Star's eyes widen. Oh, I see. Well, I'm happy that didn't happen. Are you okay? Like, aside from physical wounds, since those were healed, hopefully. They glance down, worried that they may not have healed him fully. I'm fine, Star. There was a little bit of magic on that wound, but you got it out. He looked up at the crown, noticing the ice had receded a little. Do you mind if I try something? I want to see if I can melt the ice. Star looks very wary of the idea, her earlier experience with his fire coming to mind. I don't know. I trust you, Golden, but my earlier experience with you shooting fire in my direction has me very scared. And you might just hurt me in the attempt. Are you sure that's a great idea? She whimpers. Yeah, you're right. I won't. My God, I can't believe I did that. I know it was supposed to be an act, but for a moment I was back on the battlefield, and the instinct came back. I haven't used Dawnbringer in years. Star nods and hugs him. Yeah, I get it. I know what it's like having your instincts take over. It happened to me as well with a similar fake fight with Emunah when she threatened Cassie. Star barks out as she reaches over to pet Cass. I guess in that department we've both had problems in the past. But unlike me, you have had a chance to move beyond them. Star smiles reassuringly at him. You do too. You just need to give yourself a chance to. Trust me, I beat myself up over plenty of mistakes I have made. She points at the crown to prove her point, but I still try to learn and grow from them. You can do that too. Just cut yourself some slack. Whatever you have done in the past, it was either because you had no choice, or it was the best option in the moment. You aren't as bad as you think you are. Give yourself a chance to heal mentally from your past. It won't be easy, believe me, but you'll feel better if you do. Thanks, sis. I'm glad someone still believes in me. They sit for a moment until Golden remembers something else. Oh, here. He pulls out the book from the back of his pocket. You should read this when you feel ready to learn more about being a werewolf. It's something I found a little while ago. I'd come with you, but something tells me that it might be something you should do alone. Star looks at the book, then back at Golden and nods. All right, thank you. I'll keep that in mind. It was nice spending time with you and Emunah before things got chaotic. She smiles at him. I've got a lot to learn if I want to get this crown off and shift back into a wolf. And, yeah, while it is a risk that this is what the Queen wants, I am more open to the idea. I just need to figure out how to do that. She laughs nervously. I guess we'll figure that out. But I promise, I won't put you through that again. I have experience with evolution myself in my homeworld. An idea is held there that most beings can only unlock their true potential through love and compassion. When forced through anger and fear, they will end up forever scarred, forever changed. I won't let that happen to you. Star smiles, embracing Golden tighter, a warm feeling going through her. Thank you, Golden. I hope we can figure this out soon so I can get this dumb crown off. Star affectionately whines as she cuddles closer to Golden. Golden wraps his arms around her, something he's never done before, as he fully embraces his sister for the first time. I know we will. We'll fix that. We'll find a way for you to speak again. We'll fix all of that. I'll be with you every step of the way, like I always have been. Star whimpers even more affectionately as she's embraced. They stay like that for a bit as the sun lowers in the sky. Star pulls back from the hug. I guess it's time Cass and I head home. Thanks for being here with me today. I really enjoyed it. I'll see you around, brother. Star stands with Cassiopeia and heads back to her home, happy with the day, yet still somewhat worried about Emunah. I'll see you soon, sis, Golden says as he heads back inside.